Right now, you're watching this on an electronic device. Do you ever think about where it'll end up when you're done with it? Many devices contain toxic materials and should be recycled very carefully. Sadly, lots end up in landfills. But even if you're diligent and give your electronic waste, or e-waste, to a recycler, that's no guarantee about what happens next. American recyclers often ship it overseas, frequently to countries in Southern Asia. There, workers take apart toxic material by hand, often without proper safety measures. And US policy lets it happen. But, thanks to one small nonprofit, not everyone gets away with it.
That means they're really worried about our program, probably.
So we usually want to put our tracker somewhere where it will be nice to fit in. So, for example, right here is a good spot.
We're at the office of the Basel Action Network, or BAN, a nonprofit group that's dedicated to following the e-waste trade around the world. BAN installs secret GPS trackers and electronics and then drops them off at recyclers to see where they end up. Jim Puckett is the founder and director of BAN.
In the late 1980s, way back when, there was a rash, an epidemic of people exporting their hazardous waste to developing countries rather than properly managing it at home, because it was difficult, poisonous stuff, right? So people said, well, we'll just use the ships out there and free trade and go ahead and export it.
Americans throw out millions of tons of electronics every year, and export abroad is still a big problem. Take, for instance, LCD monitors that contain mercury. If a worker in, say, Hong Kong smashes it, poisonous vapor can be released into the air. Workers dismantling electronics can get severely sick and even die. A 1989 treaty called the Basel Convention does regulate the export of e-waste, but the US has never ratified it, and a provision that would stop countries from sending e-waste to many developing nations isn't in effect.
All of us have faced the problem. Your favorite computer breaks or cannot cope with the latest software requirements and has become hopelessly obsolete. You'll find that it costs more to repair or upgrade your unit than replacing it with the latest model. So reluctantly, perhaps, you get rid of it. In the United States, it is estimated that 5 to 7 million tons of what is being called electronic waste, or e-waste, becomes obsolete every year. And it is believed that the volumes of e-wastes are rising at a rate of 3 to 5% per year. So how does one get rid of an old computer or other electronic device? If you're conscientious, you'll likely do a little research, a few phone calls to your city or counting agencies, and you'll discover an interesting fact. Computer waste is, in fact, hazardous. Indeed, it is not well known that computers contain substantial amounts of very serious pollutants. Computer monitor glass and circuit boards contain so much lead, for example, that they readily qualify computers as hazardous wastes. So, invariably, you'll be told that rather than place your e-waste in a trash can and contribute to polluting our environment through your local landfill, you should send your e-waste to your local recycler. That sounds good. But what they don't tell you is that e-waste recyclers are, for the most part, not recyclers so much as they are waste distribution centers. While neither the U.S. Commerce Department nor the EPA collect data on the actual amounts, industry insiders admit that of all the e-waste in the United States that actually goes to recyclers, about 80% of that material is likely to wind up on container ships bound for China, India, Pakistan, Vietnam, or other Asian destinations. According to such estimates, approximately 10.2 million computers will be exported to Asia in 2002 from the United States alone, and the numbers are expected to increase each year. The recycler routinely collects the waste, provides some separation of waste streams, and sells the rest to a broker who's likely to export most of that material offshore. Craig Lorch, manager of Total Reclaim, a Seattle recycler, explains the simple economics of the e-waste export brokerage business.
This is absolutely astonishing. I never thought we would see this. It's sitting here doing nothing.
True. It's been here for months already.
Months?
Yeah, months.
People have put this in their recycling bins. They thought it was going to be recycled, and yet it's just stuck in this logjam. What they actually gave you from the UK was a mix of who knows what.
I'm not supposed to getting this. No one wants it.
There was high hopes for this. It was going to be recycled, it was going to have a new life. Now, because it's been shipped like this, it's just landfill fodder.
Yeah, and then landfill, no other solution.
We've never consumed so much, and a lot of it is plastic. We produce 20 times more plastic today than we did 50 years ago. I want to find out what happens to it all. Where does it go? And how much of it actually gets recycled? What I discovered was a system that pushes the problem off our shores. The end result? Plastic piling up, and it isn't going away.
We live in such a wasteful world, the idea of recycling lessens our guilt and gives us a warm glow. As we drag our bins out for collection, it makes us feel like we're helping the environment. But there's a problem. We're being conned. Right now, Australia is stuck in an unsightly and growing recycling crisis. Take plastic waste. What you'd think would be easy to salvage and reuse. Well, the reality is most of it either ends up buried in the ground or worse. It's exported to countries like Malaysia, a place we're now treating like a garbage bin. This is an extraordinary, albeit not very pleasant, sight. Mountains and mountains of waste. But it's not just any garbage. This is good old Aussie rubbish. Plastic, straight from your recycling bin to here, just outside of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. You really have become a toilet for other people's rubbish.
In fact, we are a toilet.
Not surprisingly, the locals are none too pleased.
So please, take our rubbish home.
But this is the dirty truth of the big lie in recycling.
Today, we take you to the world's most polluted river. 35 million people rely on the Citarum River on the island of Java in Indonesia, but it's become a toxic river of waste. Shay Rhodes went to the island for this unreported world classic in April 2014.
It's 6 a.m. and I'm on the Citarum River with Herman and his son Alec.
You can barely see the river. It's just covered in plastic. There's all kinds of rubbish here, from shoes, nappies. It's all household rubbish. This is stuff that people have thrown in, and then every now and then you come across something like that. A dead fish just floating. Oh. What is it? When was the last time you actually caught some decent fish in this river?
Udah lama, Bu, ini sekarang nggak dapat.
Nowadays, Herman and his 13-year-old son are after a different kind of catch. They're scavenging for rubbish. What kind of plastic are you looking for?
Iya, rongsok doang, Bu. Iya. Kan ikan kecil itu lagi ngambang gitu.
This is said to be the world's most polluted river.
40 years ago, when Herman started fishing, it was easy to get a good catch. Since then, 60% of the fish species have been wiped out.
Would you rather catch fish or rubbish?